Stay tuned. Coming up in this episode, I preview the Auditory Exclusion chapter from my new book, How Smart Workers Use Situational Awareness to Improve Safety. But first, let's pay the bills. Today's episode is sponsored by Midwest Fire. For more than 20 years, Midwest Fire has been manufacturing high-quality tankers, tanker pumpers, and fire rescue vehicles in the United States and Canada. Keeping firefighters safe while enhancing their capabilities is what they do best. To learn more, go to MidwestFire.com. Hello and welcome to episode 288 of the Situational Awareness Matters show. I am your host, Rich Gassaway. The purpose of this program is to help improve situational awareness and high-risk decision-making for individuals and teams who work in high-stress, high-consequence, time-compressed environments with changing conditions. The SAMatters mission is simple. We want to help you see the bad things coming in time to prevent bad outcomes. I'm coming to you today from my office in St. Paul, Minnesota, having just returned from conducting a situational awareness program for industrial workers at the Safety Plus Conference in New Orleans, Louisiana. Today's feature segment is brought to you by SimsUShare. SimsUShare is a simple and affordable way to help you develop and practice situational awareness skills. You can quickly build sims from your photos to simulate almost any kind of incident, including active threat scenarios. And the new SimsUShare Command Training Center now allows you to conduct multi-company drills over the internet so you can run drills even while your crews stay in station. Check them out at SimsUShare.com. All right, let's jump into today's feature segment where I preview the Auditory Exclusion chapter of my new book, How Smart Workers Use Situational Awareness to Improve Safety. Auditory exclusion. You're going deaf. In general, most workers do not have an intimate awareness of their cognitive information processing abilities. That's understandable. Neuroscience can be quite complex and quite boring. But this lack of understanding can lead to assumptions about abilities and ignorance about limitations that can impact awareness and decision-making. For example, a worker may think that so long as they are paying attention to their surroundings, they will hear all the important information they need to know. This simply is not true. A worker can experience various forms of auditory exclusion, which in essence has the same impact as being deaf. For example, in a noisy environment, a worker's brain can prioritize the incoming audible information. In other words, their brain can lock on to some information and tune out other information. Workers have, to a limited degree, some conscious control over this process. They can, with some intentionality, tune out certain noises while they strain, or what I term squint, with their ears to listen to something or someone. However, their brains can also choose to, outside the worker's conscious control, filter out sounds perceived to be unimportant. The intentions of the brain are solid. If a worker's brain filters out the noise, they'll have more capacity to process the meaning of the important information. Most workers know that noise can impact the ability to think and process information. Many workers will freely admit they've been in environments that were so noisy they couldn't even think. Noise can impact thinking and information processing. My youngest son played football in high school. One Friday night, I was at his game with my wife. My son was on the field in the middle of a big play. The fans were going crazy. The noise in the stadium was truly deafening. My wife's screaming was making my ears ring. And as I sat there, my mind began to wonder. Can they hear it? Can the players hear the ear-piercing noise of the fans? When the game was over, I asked my son that question. No, not at all, Dad. I tune all that out. Indeed, he does, but not with conscious intentionality. His brain was filtering out the noise. Then I asked, can you hear what is being said on the field? Yes, came the response. Can you hear the coaches when they're screaming to you from the sidelines? Yes, again was the response. Can you hear your mother screaming at the top of her lungs? No, came the response. The next game, my wife started screaming just as she had the previous game. I politely told her that she really didn't need to do that. He can't hear you, I quipped. And then I got the look. Anyone who's ever got the look from a significant other knows what I'm talking about. No amount of neuroscience babble was going to stop my wife from cheering for her son. So I simply sat there with my mouth shut as she cheered the team on. Even more odd than her behavior was the number of men in the bleachers who felt compelled to yell instructions to the players and to scream at the referees when they thought a bad call was made. Proof positive, the fans do not understand the players, the coaches, and the referees are all tuning that noise out. A worker's brain can also tune out noises that are repetitive and thought to be irrelevant. For example, people living near active railroad tracks will freely admit they don't hear the trains as they pass. As I write this section of the book, I'm sitting in a chair at a campground that is painfully close to a major interstate highway. When we first arrived, the noise was constant and overwhelming. Now, 3 days later, I don't even notice it unless I give some conscious thought to it. Workers can become acclimated to constant sounds in their environment and tune out important clues and cues that help form situational awareness. I was helping a company who had experienced several significant near-miss events from workers almost getting hit by forklifts backing up. Each forklift was equipped with an obnoxiously loud backup alarm. The forklift operator's assumption was that a worker in proximity to the forklift will hear the alarm, increase their vigilance, and not walk in the pathway of the forklift. This, however, was not the case for the workers who regularly worked in close proximity to the forklifts. Workers can become desensitized to the alarm, and when that happens, their brains no longer process the sound or the meaning of the alarm. They can become, by all accounts, deaf to the alarm. When management visited the area, they could easily hear the loud alarms on the forklift. This caused the supervisors to presume the workers could also hear the alarms and were purposefully ignoring the warnings. This was not the case. It only took asking the workers if they could hear the alarms to get the answer, no. Some work sites use radios to communicate information among workers or across work groups, or from field personnel to workers who are monitoring computer systems. The challenge with radio communications is just how easy it is for messages to get tuned out when there's a lot of radio traffic. When a channel is shared by multiple functional work units, the communications for one group of workers may not have relevance for other workers who are sharing the same channel. As the amount of chatter increases, the propensity to tune out the radio can increase significantly. Workers might think if something important is said on the radio, they'll just naturally tune back in and hear the important message. If only the brain were so cooperative when it comes to tuning in and listening and switching the ability to listen on and off. The fact is, the only way to know a message is important or not is to process the meaning of the message, to understand the message, to paint the picture of the message on the mental sketchpad. If the inputs don't get drawn into visual images in the mind's eye, the receiver will not understand the message. This is true even if the words are heard. I think most workers know intuitively that they can hear a message and still not understand it. In fact, it's entirely possible for a worker to acknowledge receipt of a message, face-to-face or over a radio, and still truly not understand the meaning of what they heard. The problem with auditory exclusion is the afflicted will not know they're excluding auditory inputs at that moment in time when it is happening. I regularly work with firefighters to help improve their situational awareness and high-risk decision-making. They have a tough job. A fire engine shows up at the scene of a house on fire with people reportedly trapped inside. The firefighters rarely know anything about the layout of the house, the contents, or the location of the victims. The stability of the structure and the extent of the smoke or fire condition on the inside are also, for the most part, unknowns. The officer in charge has less than 2 minutes to size up the problem, form situational awareness, and make a series of decisions whose outcomes could, quite literally, mean life and death for trapped occupants and for the firefighters. Fortunately, very few workers will ever be subjected to the stress or potential consequences of this level of high-risk decision-making. Firefighters also depend heavily on radio communications to coordinate the activities of 15 to 25 responders toward a successful outcome. The person in charge, the incident commander, has the primary responsibility of orchestrating the activities of all the responders, assigning tasks, monitoring progress reports, and ensuring the safety of the crews. If something goes wrong inside, the crew may call a mayday over the radio. Mayday, mayday, mayday. This radio transmission will be followed by specific information about the location of the imperiled crew, the unit identifier of the crew, the names of the personnel on the crew, the status of their breathing air supply, and a request for help, what resources they need. The incident commander is to acknowledge the mayday and implement mayday procedures that might include clearing the radio channel of all non-essential radio traffic, having the dispatcher transmit a mayday alert tone to let everyone on the fire scene know a mayday has been transmitted, and to activate a rapid intervention team, a group of specially trained firefighters whose sole purpose it is to locate and rescue the distressed firefighters. Well, that's how it's supposed to work. But what happens when the incident commander is experiencing auditory exclusion and does not hear the mayday radio transmission? I have 7 documented case studies where this has happened. In several cases, the commanders were sitting in quiet command vehicles and were not distracted by other activities. Their task list was short. Watch the conditions, listen to the radio, document progress or problems on their command worksheet, and make decisions to coordinate the incident's activities. And yet these commanders were completely tuned out to the radio traffic. In 4 of the 7 instances, the outcome was not adversely impacted by the commander's auditory exclusion. For 3 of the 7 cases, the commander's missed Mayday transmission was determined to have delayed the activation of the rescue team and was a contributing factor to firefighter fatalities. Workers who fail to understand their vulnerabilities when it comes to listening, processing, and comprehending the meaning of auditory inputs, that's all sounds, not just voice, will likely be in denial about the impact auditory exclusion can have on their situational awareness. Fortunately, most of the time, when a worker experiences auditory exclusion, it all works out okay. But sometimes it doesn't. If a worker misses important auditory inputs that leads to a near miss or a casualty, the worker may be accused of not paying attention or not listening to the clues and cues in their environment. Indeed, they probably weren't listening, but not with purposeful intent. It is easy, after the fact, where radio transcripts are available, to play the tapes back and hear all the recorded messages. It is also easy to make the false assumption that everyone with a radio heard and understood every recorded message. It is also a false assumption that simply because a worker acknowledges a message, that they understood it. Recall the earlier discussion that I had in the book about the mental sketchpad in the mind's eye? To comprehend, a message must be drawn on the mental sketchpad and then visualized in the mind's eye. If no picture, no understanding. If you're interested in buying the book, it's available on the SAMatters.com website store and also available on Amazon. The Situational Awareness Matters show launched in 2014 with a purpose: to give a platform to those who've had near-miss events to share their stories. When I'm on the road delivering classes on situational awareness, I often ask attendees about their near-miss events, and they have shared some amazing stories. Those stories motivated me to launch this podcast in the first place, so those lessons learned could be shared with a bigger audience, you. The Situational Awareness Matters show, podcasted as SAMatters Radio, and our companion video program on SAMatters TV channel on YouTube, along with other videos that we've posted there, have enjoyed more than 800,000 downloads. I am so thankful for your support and feel so honored to be able to provide the platform for these amazing stories to be shared. If you like the show, please do me a solid favor. Please subscribe. For the audio version of the show, search SAMatters Radio on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher Radio, or iHeartRadio. For the video version, subscribe to SAMatters TV on YouTube. And if you find value in the show, I would really appreciate it if you would give the show a rating and write a review. Your ratings and reviews help others to find the show, and more importantly, your feedback inspires me to work even harder for you.
I think Rich's ability to connect with any crowd, that's a gift that he has, and it's easily transferable.
This is the second or third time that I've heard him speak. There's some teeth to the information that he brings.
It's been really good. Good mixes. He knows when to throw in a joke here and there to get you back involved.
Some tools. I'm a new lieutenant, so very, very interesting. And some of these things I can take back to the station and use with some of the new firefighters I have on my crew.
Something to get you thinking about your job more, big picture type stuff. I've seen them before. A good review for sure.
I have heard him before, yes. After he speaks, there's usually an enlightenment because now they're more aware of what's going on around them and what they're experiencing as they respond to calls.
He's very, very knowledgeable. I'm enjoying it so far.
And that intuition, that's a big one. The video that he just showed up here, we're getting a lot out of this. I think this is a really good seminar, especially for new people and old. But I think it's very informative. This talk gives us more ammunition to do all three.
They're relatable to what we have experienced or very well could experience, so he makes it easy to let the knowledge sink in.
I mean, it's awesome. A lot of stories you can usually relate to yourself and calls you have been on, aha moment. Like, he just helps you focus on picking out the right things. It's awesome. It's a refresher and keeps my eyes open. It's good stuff.
If people listen to the message that he has, it's an incredible message delivered by a very compassionate person. Strategy and tactics are going to always change. Situational awareness it doesn't change. It's always there.
He's got some good stories to tell, and he's very thorough with his stories, and it's interesting listening to him.
Very clear speaker, and he talks on our level because he's been there, he's been in the trenches. I think he's doing well, and I'm looking forward to the second half of it.
Since 2007, Situational Awareness Matters instructors have helped more than 1,300 organizations and have trained more than 80,000 individuals to improve high-risk decision-making, including first responders, industrial workers, military personnel, business leaders, medical professionals, utility workers, highway workers, public transportation operators, aviation workers, oil refinery process operators, and many, many more. If you or someone you know works in a high-risk, high-consequence, decision-making environment, then we are here to help improve your safety and your survival, and to help you accomplish the most important mission of all, and that is to go home to the ones who love you. I'd like to take a moment to honor and thank the companies, organizations, agencies, and departments that have hosted recent Situational Awareness Matters training for their team members. The Lansing Fire Department in Lansing, Michigan. The Ingham County Fire Chiefs Association in Michigan. The Coastal Bend Regional Advisory Council in Corpus Christi, Texas. And the Safety Plus Conference in New Orleans, Louisiana. I am now in the middle of a 6-week sabbatical from all presentations to, as Dr. Covey would say in his book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, to sharpen my saw and focus on my personal development. So I've recorded this episode before I left. If you're interested in attending an upcoming event, here is where we're going to be on the horizon once I return back to my presentation travel schedule. On October 15th at the Illinois Fire Chiefs Association Conference in Peoria. On October 19 and 20 at the Clearwater Regional Fire Service in Rocky Mountain House, Alberta. November 14 through 17 at the International Association of Fire Chiefs Volunteer and Combination Officers Section Symposium in the Sun in Clearwater Beach, Florida. And November 23rd at the County of Grand Prairie Fire Services in Grand Prairie, Alberta. If you want to see the locations of all the upcoming events, just head over to the SAMatters.com website and scroll down until you see the red tab labeled Upcoming Events Schedule. If you're interested in hosting a program, just click on the Contact Us tab on the top of the SA Matters homepage, and I will give you a call. If you want to become part of the SA Matters community of learners, there are several ways you can do that. Check the show notes for how to get connected with us by signing up for our monthly newsletter, which is free, subscribing to the SA Matters radio podcast, which is free, and by subscribing to the SA Matters TV YouTube channel, which is also free. and how to follow us on the social media channels of Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram. There we share ideas about how to improve situational awareness, how to make better decisions under stress, and how to improve the skills of critical thinking and resilient problem solving. Well, there it is. Episode 288 of the Situational Awareness Matters show is complete. Thank you to our platinum sponsor, Midwest Fire. Thank you to our feature segment sponsor, SimsUShare. And thank you to our associate sponsor, Chief Miller. Thank you to all the companies, agencies, organizations, and associations that have hosted Situational Awareness Matters training programs. Thank you to all the organizations that have hosted a live stream training program where I come to your organization live via the internet to train all of your members. Thank you to the more than 3,000 students and graduates of the highly acclaimed Situational Awareness Matters Online Academy. The feedback I've received from Academy graduates is just amazing and humbling, and I thank you for that. And most importantly, thank you, the listeners and the viewers of this show, for sharing some of your valuable time with me today. I really appreciate your support of the SAMatters mission. Be safe out there, and may the peace of the Lord and strong situational awareness be with you always.
You've been listening to the Situational Awareness Matters radio show with Dr. Richard B. Gassaway. If you are interested in learning more about situational awareness, human factors, and decision-making under stress, visit SAMatters.com. If you are interested in booking Dr. Gassaway for an upcoming event, visit his personal website at richgassaway.com.